really heard of outside of China. Even the Korean players didn't really know that well, and all of a sudden you put them together and they're a great looking team now battling for third.
And obviously at this point disappointed not to be in the final, but what a dream first LPL season, being promoted from the LSPL into second place in the regular season, now potentially third in the playoffs. That's what dreams are made of. They weren't even one of the most fancy teams. Of course, King, who were eliminated in our quarterfinals, was thought to be the big risers from the LSPL. Don't necessarily have the superstar Koreans, but man, the Koreans they did get, Barker and Beast, have been wonderful role players, and the team in general, just a big, happy surprise.
Yeah, they've looked great, but IG have certainly had great moments as well. So we'll kick off our best of 5 here with the Game 1 bans. Cassidy and LeBlanc banned away there from Rookie, mostly you have to think. We've got Xerath and Malka, interestingly, banned by IG.
And we expect a lot of Rookie-focused bans to come out from Invictus Gaming, from Snake, sorry, towards Invictus Gaming. 4 out of the 6 of the most banned champions throughout the course of the seasons and the playoffs against IG have been that mid lane. Ironically, of course, the other 2, they're from the jungle. It's the Korean duo that eat most of the bans, and they still have to find a way to carry, despite all that attention and the picks and bans from the enemy team.
Sejuani going to eat a ban, though, so not the Ari there as Lulu gets taken away by Invictus Gaming. So smart stuff here by both sides. Does leave a couple of notable picks open, and Snake will first pick Azir.
And look, we're already in a flashback to EDG versus IG semi-final. Of course, in that game, it was IG first picking the Azir, and Rookie getting counterpicked by Pawn's LeBlanc. What does Rookie have to counter this Azir? Because Azir, we know how strong he is. We're on patch 5.7, didn't mention that. So Azir, no changes directly, but the disengage meta is certainly there. The likes of Gragas and Azir very much in the meta. You pair Azir with the hyper carries that Crystal loves to play, and you have the start of what has been such a successful composition for Snake throughout the course of the season. So Azir, a very fearsome first pick. But what is the answer from IG? We might not find out till the last set of
well,
picks.
It's disengage here for IG. Janna, Gragas are their first 2 picks, but most notably for me, Nunu left up here for Beast, and it pairs wonderfully with both Crystal and Azir's pick already.
And maybe that's just a mind game from IG, just happy to pass it over, but then maybe go for a strong dueling jungle like the likes of Lee Sin. It feels like Kakao needs to go carry mode. When he goes and chooses a champion with less pressure, it doesn't really seem to help IG. So it's definitely not been a favorite pick for him, but you're right, leaving it up and leaving a champion like Hecarim up. I mean, the interesting factor here is that Hecarim we expect to be a hot talking point tomorrow, where both Koro and Acorn have really been favoring that champion. Ironically, Flandre has 0 games played on the Hecarim. This is in 50-plus game season. Has not played that champion. You can see from the summoner spells, probably going to be a top lane Hecarim. And Zatai is 0-2 on the champion. We weren't sure where the priority would be. 3rd round of picks, that's probably later than we'd expect from Hecarim, but still, this is Flandre's debut game on Hecarim in the LPL.
Yeah, that's the pick that you have to think. Kalista going to join in there as well for Crystal, so strong champions there. And I guess my other fun thing about Hecarim is that Flandre, he pretty much started this problem with the Smite teleport top lane. He was doing it on Shyvana when that patch rolled around. He's the cause of all this trouble, Papa Smithy. And of course, now going to finally pick up the Hecarim as IG, Cassiopeia, Shyvana, teleport smites everywhere.
Teleport smite are plenty. In the early levels, in the early trading, you definitely expect an advantage for Shyvana. First, of course, her burnout does more damage to monsters, so with smite she'll be powering down multiple jungle camps while Hecarim uses his big mana pool to try and get the first. And just in early trades, you just get that magic damage based up. You can max the burnout first, and you should win the trades against Hecarim. But in the late game, we know what Hecarim can do against enemy AD carries. So definitely it's the early game teleport smite versus the more late game oriented teleport smite.
And I wonder what Elo wants to take here. We've seen a lot of Nautilus be popular, and his Janna has been taken away from him already. So we'll see how they want to get enabled. But these will be some very strong late picks coming through for Snake. The Nunu's locked in, and the Nautilus is there as well. The
comfort is really concerning for me, Pastry Time, on this Snake side. Kalista gets through. Nunu gets through. That's a 13-3 Crystal is on Kalista. 10-2 Nunu is coming through, of course. There's double synergy here for the Nunu as well, remember. You can put that Blood Boil on Crystal, but she already has very high attack speed. He's going to build the Hurricane. You can just throw it onto Azir and you get the same amount of power. Azir scales so well with attack speed. Always natively just picks up the Stinger as well. Synergy are plenty on the Snake side. The Hecarim's something new, but definitely expect Flandre to be able to pick up a champion like that. IG have good picks, but it feels like Snake got close to a blind pick comp for them.
Yeah, it really does. And we haven't seen Flandre play the Hecarim, but he has gone carry mode in games before, so can certainly play a big high-impact champion like the Hecarim. As the last pick here is actually Jinx for kids, so both teams going fairly late on their scaling.
I gotta say, as an analyst, both these team comps really appeal to me. On the IG side, you've got Cassio Jinx, you've got a strong damage mid laner who can fight next to the hyper carry, use the Petrifying Gaze for guaranteed disengage. instead of the situational, say, flash, petrifying, engage. That is petrifying, gaze, engage. That's a bit tricky, but got there.
Engage.
That's just, okay. That is a little bit more, you know, situational, might not come off. The reliability, when you're standing next to Jinx, everyone wants to dive. That hyper carry who's immobile until she gets the first kill and gets the reset on the get excited. So suddenly Cassiopeia's positioning, one of the most difficult things to do in both lane and team fights, is that much more predictable and easy for IG to pull off. And they've got the frontline diver, because Shyvana, if there's one thing she can do, it's dive carries and just be a massive drag.
And that's sort of the same thing that Hecarim does, honestly. I think the top lane is, for both these teams, they're going to have to be a lot of the engage here for these teams, because apart from this, there's not that much as far as engage or dive goes, you have to think. It's a lot of disengage and a lot of late game scaling. Both Azir and Cassiopeia are fairly defensive-oriented champions from the mid lane, despite scaling and dealing good damage as well.
The rotational play is always the big concern. When you have someone like Jinx, not quite Jinx Nunu, which is pretty much the EDG special when it comes to mowing down turrets in the mid game, but still we've got Jinx, who's a very good turret taker. Kalista not so much in that regard, but they have a lot of dive. They've got Nunu, Kalista. You give them free time with a turret, and you've got that recurve bow towards the Hurricane. You're going to do plenty of turret damage as well. It's just two very teamfight-oriented comps, which should mean, fingers crossed, an excellent game of League of Legends.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Both teams looking for more of that late game. We've seen Snake traditionally love to scale up and play around their big hyper carry Crystal. IG have certainly played lots of different styles, I think, in their time. More recently, maybe shifting towards a lot more tankiness and Cinderhulk, but IG, I feel like we haven't seen that much from them this season, despite the volume of games they've played. So if they're going to show anything, it might as well be now.
We've definitely seen a lot of games, but I know what you mean in terms of we haven't seen a lot of core identity for Invictus Gaming. Who is Invictus Gaming? It's kind of the nebulous question. They've definitely been a lot of different things. They've been late game scaling comps. We've seen the IG aggression that typified them, say, 2012 till this roster came together in 2015, their relentless aggression. They've been many different things, but what is their core identity? To me, honestly, they're a team of adaptation. They're a team that can really find out what an enemy team does, ban away their core picks, pick blocker champions, and then outdo them at their own game, which is very interesting to see when it's pulled off. EDG, though, was a bridge too far in the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, even in this game, you have to think, we already noted that this comp from Snake looks like a blind pick draft. That adaptation maybe takes a game or two.
And we'll have to wait and see whether maybe there's something about the synergies that will work. Maybe the Cassiopeia, that's the big question mark. Cassiopeia versus Azir. Sounds like Cassio as a mid-range champion might struggle, but I think we're going to get onto the Rift for game one.
Yeah, we're going to go straight to the Rift. Let's do it. And welcome onto the Rift for Game 1 here between Snake and Invictus Gaming for our LPL Playoffs third place match. Of course, the grand final just around the corner tomorrow, 4 p.m. local time. But this should be quite a lot of fun to close out these two teams' LPL season.
And these two teams are playing for circuit points, but honestly, more importantly, pride after both getting swept in the semifinals. First appearance on patch 5.7 for the LPL teams. Last attempt to really show their fan groups what they're about going into that break between splits. Of course, not going to be representing their teams at MSI, but still want to send their fans home happy after a very long and arduous season.
Yeah, it has been a long season as the tie is going to take away our camp, but we do start off with a pauses. Crystal might have a problem too, or two there connecting back into the game. Curiously for me, no lane swaps here coming through. Lots of standard lanes it seems like we'll have, just given the movement we've got right now.
And we didn't grab the early vision, so we're not sure whether there was invades for vision either. Standard lanes, I mean, both these teams are in that teleport smite situation. Honestly, the first team to rebit into lane and perhaps start pushing in might have the advantage. You'd probably give Zatai the advantage if he gets there early. Of course, has the burnout for more AoE pushing, although Rampage no slouch for the Hecarim either in terms of the pushing. If they're left to just go and do some jungling, you're going to give the advantage to Shyvana in terms of getting that experience quicker and maybe the first item to open up a pushing advantage in the top. In terms of their starts, we do see a regen heavy start coming from the Hecarim and a bit more of a late game build coming through with the Ruby Crystal start coming from the Shyvana. Of course, you don't see Machete that much from these teleport smite lanes, even though that would help their jungling even faster. If you ever invade for vision and see a Shyvana with Machete, you say, okay, we're definitely going for standard lanes. We're definitely trying to harass this person, keep them in lane, go for the fast push, and make sure that Machete is offering them nothing in terms of laning.
Yeah, it's just too narrow an option, you have to think. We have seen teams adapt sometimes and maybe go back, get early gold, and then once they continue their jungle follow, do it. I can't remember which team that was, but we've seen adaptation certainly. But for the most part, you just want to try and jockey for early positions. And Smite Top has not only brought Cinderhulk to another section of the map and a second smite for neutral control. Just the level 1s now are so interesting.
And you just wait to see which team is going to cotton onto it and just go for the fast push. Make that smite laner accountable faster, specifically Shyvana. You know that she's powering down those camps either in your or the enemy jungle. So get her back into that lane and make sure she doesn't have that innate advantage with the burnout.
Yeah, we can see, of course, that will isolate our mid lane as well. And haven't seen it for a little while, Azir versus Cassiopeia, but Rookie, certainly in his playoff games, was favoring this champion and has to think with the counterpick, likes the matchup.
I have to think so. I don't see it necessarily being the most punishing lane for Azir, just given how much range he has. Should be able to deal with the harassment in lane. Of course, the all-in trade's definitely going to focus on Cassiopeia. You're just waiting for that crazy interaction when Cassiopeia and Gragas interact with the Empress Divide. There could be any sort of shenanigans coming out there. Barca, instantly, hasn't gone for cleanse in this situation, so not respecting the Petrifying Gaze enough to pick for. Of course, not going to offer him very much against Shyvana, Gragas, Janna, so perhaps just hoping, relying on his own reflexes to be able to deal with the stun. So the stun registers, kill pressure, pretty damn high.
Yeah, I think Cleanse is more of an anti-Sejuani tool than anything else,
Sure.
so that would make a lot of sense. I mean, unfortunately for Barca, he can't really get out of any CC apart from the Petrifying Gaze, because the rest of them are knockbacks or knockups.
And that's the thing. If you saw multiple CCs, even if it's not a true, like, I need cleanse champion, like Rammus or Sejuani coming through, if you see a couple of CCs, you're all about consistent damage on Cassiopeia. Letting your poison drop, honestly, is such a big DPS drop. Honestly, if I'm going to compare it, it's to a snake champion. It's the like of Draven dropping an axe. You can't afford for that damage that damage downside to come through. So you need the cleanse just to do consistent damage in a fight.
Yeah, I think we are getting close to the unpause as well, but still not quite in-game yet. I think it's interesting that you point that out, that you want to do consistent damage, because Cleanse, certainly the defensive option, but Rookie opted in for, I guess, the aggressive version, which is just to take Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost Flash. Maybe that's just to respect the ranges coming through. Of course, it's going to be so much AoE, like latent CC from the likes of Beast on that Nunu, of course, is going to, at some point in a fight, just be opening up space for the likes of Crystal, channeling that absolute zero. You want to avoid the ranges coming through from Nautilus. To be honest, the only way to get out of Nautilus CC is not to be in depth charge range, because all the other CCs will come after that targeted ability is used. So yeah, it is a very aggressive choice coming through, and Barca, he's going to try and do consistent damage and just respect the Petrifying Gaze with positioning and just, you know, turning around this champion rather than necessarily using the cleanse. So in this situation, probably fine. I
mean, it's funny to me. I'm curious to see when we do starting fights, how do they even start? Because these teams honestly don't have that many good hard engage options. We've got Fate's Call, we've got Nautilus Ult if he gets in range, and Hecarim is probably the best first option there for Snake. But you look over on the IG side, Shyvana to dive in, Gragas ulti if you get in range, and that's about it.
But you can turn around that Gragas ulti comment and say Gragas ulti most reliable use, especially since it's not an AP Gragas looking for burst. It's going to be used for disengage. It's going to be used for turret damage. You know, you go under a turret, throw the Eye of the Storm shield onto Jinx, ult away the defenders, and just smash down the turret quickly. That's an option. And of course, just in teamfights simply, it's a disengage tool to keep the enemy away from your hyper carry and Jinx. So both these teams, as you mentioned, go better defensively. Of course, Shyvana and Hecarim, both to varying degrees, can get onto that backline. How sticky they'll be, it's a bit of a question mark with all the disengage coming through. So it's definitely going to be an objective-focused game, you have to think, Pastry Time, because at least if you're fighting around objectives, you get that objective lead. You get 2 dragons. The first one might not be contested, depending on how the lanes pull out, although we do see standard lanes, so potentially will be contested. But once you get towards the 3rd dragon, fighting for, if one team has 2 dragons, you know that the enemy team, even if they haven't picked for engage, are going to have to fight you, because that dragon, the 5th dragon, is such a significant win condition in the current meta of League of Legends. And because both these comps don't have reliable engage, you take the team that gets that control on dragon. And honestly, the 1st dragon, to me, it sounds like a very early thing to say as a big win condition, but just given the comps, it's of extra importance.
It really is. I mean, again, if you're playing defense, if your comp is based around making the enemy come to you, you need an advantage to draw them in the first place, whether it's fighting around a dragon, fighting around turrets, or honestly just fighting around that dragon, like you mentioned. I guess my next question then, if that's what we can observe between the 2 team comps, and I think that's very fair, who has the advantage as far as neutral control goes?
I think the advantage might be there for Snake just because they have 2 smites and a Nunu, so they have more dragons secure. But I'm going to actually pay it over to IG in terms of flexibility, not around neutrals, but just around the fact that their team has excellent siege. You got Janna, you have Janna Jinx, you know, which of course the Eye of the Storm, just powering down those turrets. You have the threat of a turret dive from Zatai, but you've got Kakao as well to disengage, the Petrifying Gaze also to respect, another ranged auto attacker, if not the best auto attack frame coming through from Cassiopeia. So given they have slightly better turret damage and have maybe the better options when it comes to rotations, I give IG maybe the slight compositional advantage, but if you focus this into objective game, it's that big toss-up. It's that big wait to see who can get the supremacy over the early objective.
Yeah, and it almost seems like that big almost dilemma when you have two late game scaling comps is that all of a sudden somebody gets an advantage in the mid game and you're both trying to scale. You kind of have a pretty big advantage if you're both based on getting to late game.
Exactly. If you're scaling and then every 6 minutes you're forced to fight, that's just not playing towards your win condition. It's a big significant hole. So IG having the better siege team might prove to be the advantage as we roll on back onto the rift.
We are back into the rift now. As we see, we have broken out into standard lanes. So those early top laners seem to both use their teleport. So looks like to take a camp and then go head to head against each other. And Kid versus Crystal, this should be quite the matchup. Jinx versus Kalista. And Kalista's been a thorn in so many teams' side, you have to think. Such a strong first pick and first ban, honestly, in so many different games. So I'm curious to see what Kid does here with his counter pick.
I think that, I mean, obviously we didn't get to see it on screen, but Kid just being pushed up is a big thing for Jinx, because Crystal on that Kalista actually has a surprisingly strong level 1 when it comes to either maxing the rend or the PS for lane control. If you get a level advantage against a hook champion like Nautilus who has so much initiation CC, Janna, of course, not so useful when it comes to sustain. The burst trade could have been significant. So Kid actually getting level 2 first, whether that's just from a bluff and getting to lane first or not. As Barker, it's getting feisty already.
Yeah, very nice presence. Didn't get the Raptor, but does get the ward. Knows the Kakao now is fairly low. That might prompt Nunu to go invade, but no, he's gone back in. So they're going to pick up some early items. This Rookie going to get some transition damage there. Very big E's coming through there from the Twin Fangs, but Barker gets away to safety, does not yet burn the heal.
It looks like he might have had just enough mana for 2 more Twin Fangs, and thus it suggests that if he had Ignite, might have been potential to kill secure. Kakao finds the jungle just a little bit too tough at the moment.
Playing very risky, but does clear the Krug, so we'll get level 3 and go back. Beast already level 3, of course, very safe on the Nunu, so has his Stalker's Blade finished up already.
So just talking about this mid lane matchup, the poke trade's definitely going to be an advantage of Barker. That's why I said Rookie might struggle in that Cassiopeia is a bit like Cassiepia's a bit like Lissandra in that she's more of a medium to short-range mage, but the all-in trade's always going to go on the advantage of Rookie. You can see Rookie trying to push Barker towards Nunu. In this case, actually opened up distance, might have spotted him through a ward, so safe anyway.
There's a ward right at the top there, so did spot Beast in there. So they'll just instead try and push the wave up. Beast going to help a little bit by slapping away some of the minions down, but Barker just wants to open up a little bit of space. So we look back down. Already actually an early advantage there for Kid, so we wondered about the push in Jinx. Having lane control early on seems to help out here.
I mean, it's not just the Jinx versus Kalista that we have to talk about. It's the fact that Nautilus and melee champions are so much better when they have when you're pushing in aggressively. When you're defensive, you can just look at the Nautilus. He's just walking around, getting relic shield procs, and just soaking damage. That's all he can really provide in this overextended situation. So it's just the fact that this duo lane was able to push up. Janna has a ranged auto attack. Both these lanes look better going forward, and advantage Kid and Kitties.
Yeah, smart Trumpers pressure there as well under the tower. So continuing to push in, and Jinx, if she can get a hold of a lane early and get to that BO sword smoothly, she often can take over at least, and you get good options with the rotations as well. As in the top lane here, Flounder actually a nice early league with his Crystal and Flask. Now level 6 actually, might think about a dive, but with Beast not in the area, probably not.
Yeah, honestly, Zatai hasn't had vision of Kakao for quite a long time. There hasn't been vision around Kakao's jungle, so he's just had to play more defensively. He's ceding lane control to a Hecarim. At this point, it's not a big deal, and when you're talking about the late game, Hecarim has the more reliable engage tool in the Onslaught of Shadows, but like, hey, you get a flank teleport on Shyvana, you get onto the backline, you still do very respectable damage. You're going to have very similar build paths in terms of the Cinderhulk first at least. So not a big hole in top, and just respecting the potential of that jungle presence.
Rookie actually used his ultimate in the mid lane, so tried to get the kill into Barker, but that ult did not connect. As you can see, Barker's health bar now level 6 himself, whereas Beast is actually waiting here for Flandre, and Zatai may be a bit overextended, going to try and bait him in, wants him to use the Dragon's Descent, but Beast very patient.
Yeah, Beast doesn't actually have that much kill pressure. They really need Zatai to super commit, maybe use that Dragon's Descent. Otherwise, if he just has it to be used defensively, he will be able to open up enough space.
See Flandre trying to poke there. Beast will finally show himself. That's going to prompt the ulti, but Flandre going to pay back in there as well. Good devastating charge back. Snowball's going to ride in, and first blood goes to Hecarim.
Very smart play from Flandre, able to use the devastating charge to push him back, open up just enough space to keep him out of the turret. Picks up the kill. No flash, of course, on Zatai. And that's just the more experienced top laner really playing it fast and loose and getting Zatai down.
I think, for me, that's the first time I've ever seen a Hecarim not terrify someone with an ultimate and have it go even better than expected.
I mean, that's just excellent play coming through from Hecarim. Forces the teleport, and now they have both the solo, both the first blood and the teleport advantage. Snake, that should open up Dragon advantage, you have to think. They should be able to get the control over that objective with the Hecarim teleport available.
Especially with the Nunu ready to go, but Flandre, no ulti for a short while, but should have it back soon enough if they do want to contest for that Dragon. We see he's gone back, he's got his Skirmisher Saber and the Barmy Cinder ready to go, so building in towards that very popular enchantment, the Cinder Hulk. And looking around the other lanes right now, Charles gone back and picked up for Barker, and Rookie's just starting off on his tier.
Actually kind of worry for Kid in the bottom lane. Although he has a CS advantage, the level 6 advantage has to be in the advantage of Crystal and Ella in this case. You have to think that Nautilus, with all his different types of CC and just the Ren being based on auto attacks rather than necessarily your first big AD purchase, means that if an all-in trade comes through, there is more kill pressure for Snake than there is for IG. So they definitely want to do their shopping trip soon to ensure that when that Super Mega Death Rocket actually connects, it's going to have a BF sword or more behind it.
Interestingly, Ella hit level 6 before Crystal, but now they're both 6 as well. Kitty's slightly behind, just a couple stacks going through with the Piercing Crystal. Looks like he wants to take a shopping trip.
That's probably good timing. No rush there. Gragas on that side of the map. So the Spidey sense maybe was tingling coming through from Crystal. No pressure in this case, but actually looks to be rotating on the minimap as Barker gets his first donation to blue.
Good pings by IG, though, knowing that the blue's being taken over, wander toward the Dragon. And this is the awkward thing about doing a blue buff for the mid laner on the blue side, is that you end up on the wrong side for this Dragon, and IG, wonderful rotation, going to take it away.
Yeah, really smart rotation, as you mentioned. Getting the Dragon against Nunu is no mean feat. Remember, they have teleport advantage as well. This is effectively an objective steal based on how the first 8 minutes have played out, and again, it's just savvy play from Kakao and Rookie, you'd have to think.
And it's just the first Dragon, but snowballing up towards the second, and of course, eventually the fifth is a big deal for both these teams. So first early advantage as far as objectives go does go to Invictus Gaming.
If we've learned one thing about the LPL this season, is that these objectives can definitely escalate quickly. So they've got the first one, they haven't been able to use the strategic advantage, they put so much time and pressure in top to build up, and they take down that Dragon. So now we see Beast going for a bit of counter jungling, and Kakao's feeling feisty.
He is going to check it though, and the red buff will not get taken away. He actually does wrap all the way back around, but Kakao's going to be able to pick it up instead. A Sightstone though for Beast means he does get good deep wards down. You can see them just flanking the red side of IG's jungle.
An amusing thing coming to the jungle matchup that we saw there as Kakao and Beast met in the jungle is that Kakao, although is not quite Nunu when it comes to taking the Dragon, he has the Drunken Rage. It's been increased in cap to 300 damage. He has surprisingly good consistent Dragon damage. So while his secure is not the same as Nunu's, it's similar in terms of speed.
And curiously, back in the bottom lane, you can see the CS not too bad here. Kid still with a decent lead of about 15 or so, but nobody has spent any gold yet, and they have big stacks in that bank.
And there's no Avarice Blade to really prompt this investment banking, but just everyone's overstaying for another wave. So you're just priced in to stay and push it out. You know, it's always that battle. You see it often in solo queue when you're watching someone like Double. It's like, just back so I can back. And it feels like that's just the case here. They're just, the egos are getting in the way, and they're saying, all right, I've got no pressure. Might as well just keep farming for my first big item.
Yeah, Snake, fake it again. Go for the recalls, but don't complete them. Kakao looking for a bit of vision. Sentinel, though, looking around, but IG do have some nice wards in towards the bottom side, towards the Krugs and red buff. Barker, though, now could be in trouble. Rookie going to return with his Haunting Eyes, and Kakao is going to start it off. He needs to line up the ulti. Beautifully played. Rookie ults him right into it, and Barker uses his ult, but he's well and truly dead.
And there's the Katie rolls to arrow special. This duo on Invictus Gaming, so smart in the engage. Kakao just used everything at the same time. Honestly, Barker looked just a bit perturbed by the whole situation, but look at the big purchase. Had the tier, freshly shopped with the Haunting Guys, suddenly the damage registers, and registers huge, dies through the heal, didn't even have time to flash, and now this lane starts to swing towards Cassiopeia, and we expect even more defensive positioning coming through from the Athene's completed Azir.
We've got a roam coming through now as well, down into the bottom side. Kakao not going to quite get spotted by the Sentinel. Might have to use the Fate Skull here to save Ella. Won't use it quite yet. Nautilus pretty tanky, but Crystal have to think he wants to go in. The teleport actually coming through. They might chuck him back in. They do want to Kakao, and Flandre trying to line up the ulti. Depth charge there onto Rookie. Kitties is down as well. Kakao getting low. Will get sniped by Crystal. Super Mega Death Rocket does do some AoE damage, but it's 3v4 right now as the tires come down as well. He's actually getting kited back. Flandre will die to Kid, but it's a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, the Tide tried to hold on to the Dragon's Descent, hoping to get another kill, because without Flash, without Onslaught of Shadows, Flandre was definitely dead. Snake trying to answer this all with some pushing in the mid lane. Remember, Beast and Barker have a lot of synergy when it comes to the Blood Boy really powering up his kit. So they get a little bit of damage getting done, but definitely a trade towards Invictus Gaming in that regard.
Good room there by IG in the gold or square right now. So that one dragon up, a big deal already in the early stages of this game. You can see the gold just been spent by Kid, but Crystal, he has 3,700 gold and he still hasn't shopped yet.
I mean, look, it's only 40 gold between the two of them. Now 100 when that Ren came through. Look at this first purchase. BF Sword, Pickaxe, and an Avarice Blade. I mean, look, he's already seen plenty of banking coming through in the 12 minutes. You can't help but forgive him for picking up an Avarice Blade in what has been a very passive farming bottom lane.
And Crystal now with a Bloodthirster straight up as well, plus some Boots of Speed. A
lot of power.
Yeah, lots of power there for Kalista, and we've started seeing the shift away from that Hurricanes first.
I mean, the Bloodthirster gives you that much more lane control. You have that sustain option. As a champion that does all of their damage in 550 range or less, just auto-attacking to get the Ren damage. Okay, you don't have the Ren set potential necessarily in a team fight. Oh, I mean, you do, but just not quite as fearsome when you don't have the attack speed. But it's a lot more lane control, and honestly, a lot more one-item power coming through compared to what Kid has. But don't mistake that. There's always the potential of the big Super Mega Death Rocket kill. You just have to think the offensive options squarely in the advantage in terms of a 2v2 for Snake.
And good steal there by Ella. Actually takes the Scuttle Crab away from Invictus Gaming's bottom lane, so a bit of well-deserved extra gold there as well. As we might see fireworks now on the bottom side, especially if there are more people that want to visit.
And look, they went for the flexible purchase. I'm surprised to see both of these supports pick up Moby Boots. Obviously, they were going to come in eventually, but they've been anchored and in just the very literal terms in terms of Nautilus to the bottom lane. They haven't been doing much roaming, but you got to give those options open and nothing necessary that really demanded being purchased instead.
Cacao has snuck into the bottom side though, so looking for a gank here with Kid and Kitties. Plenty of damage coming through. Jinx ultimate backup as well, but flashes are here for the dual lane of Snake.
And worth noting, you have to really go for Crystal on this engage, otherwise the Fate's Call will come, stasis, and ensure that Ella will not die. So much sustain on Crystal, so unless Crystal, for whatever reason, starts to tend towards the top side of this map, hard for Gragas to get much work done.
Yeah, they'll see him with a ward there, but Crystal just going to move some Sentinels around and return to the lane. Does not want to overcommit here, but Cacao, he's been sitting down here for quite a while, so you have to think at this point they have no idea that he's there, but he'll finally leave, it looks like.
Now remember, there's Dragon coming in 30 seconds, so that's where he wants to be on the map anyways. Nunu's just shopped, he's going to come in this direction. IG just trying to get as much vision as possible. We already said that this is the big win condition. Cacao looking for an engage, but risky.
Yeah, Ellerita Chomper there actually goes back in onto Kick Crystal, trying to find some damage. Good Fate's Call there to dodge the Super Mega Death Rocket, and Nautilus will Fate's Call his way out to safety.
So Fate's Call's not available. They don't have teleport in their top laner. Nunu can look for a cheeky steal, but so far Dragon Troll squarely with IG.
Good timing though from base comes down to stop Cacao from diving that Nautilus. Ella chugging a couple potions, teleports not available like you mentioned. So Snake, if they want to fight for this second dragon, and they should, it's going to be a 4v4.
And honestly, the only way to get on top of this Cassiopeia in such a situation where you don't have wards is some sort of miracle Fate's Call into Nautilus Ultimate. Fate's Call not available, teleport not available. The freest dragon of your life for Invictus Gaming.
Sentinel comes too late, and that's a second dragon there for IG. So Baka couldn't come, anchored to that lane, pushed up by the Cassio. Flandre didn't have time to walk down, and we talked about the power of Jinx in these neutral situations, objectives, whether they be turrets or dragons. She's good at taking both of them.
And now you feel like Snake are really going to have to start getting some ward supremacy as we move into mid to late. Although their engage is not strong, you can definitely see Onslaught of Shadows into some sort of 3-4-man Fate's Call working their advantage. Similar things that LGD were able to do in their semi-final against Snake were those engages with the likes of the Kalista Nautilus. There is the potential, but IG, they've been very on point in terms of warding. You can't see them necessarily overextending for the Ren sets once they see the Hurricane completed by Kalista.
No, and Snake classically used to trade a lot of advantage in lane for dragons, honestly. They were happy just trying to get ahead in gold, especially taking out some early turrets. But given that the game is neutral on gold with no turrets being taken by either side and even the kills being equalized as well, IG honestly have the only advantage that we can look at, and that's the dragons.
That's the big discernible advantage. And when you look at the scalings, honestly, across the board, they're pretty similar coming through. Although Barker with Blood Boil especially probably is going to outscale the Cassiopeia in terms of damage. Crystal probably not going to necessarily need that Blood Boil as we come into the late game. And he powers on attack speed items, which has always been wont to do. For example, it's Cogmore build. Not really a big fan of Infinity Edge, Static Shift, Phantom Dancer, all those sort of attack speed based items. So Kalista naturally will build herself towards 2.5 attack speed. This is a lot about setting up Barker, who's fallen down, but is keeping competitive in the mid lane.
Yeah, Stinger back now as well. CS difference not too bad as the tie will return here as well. Home guard boots for both of the top laners actually, and no big damage items coming through after the Cinder Hulks have been completed. It's a Giant's Belt for the tie and a Glacial Shroud there for Flandre.
So is the tie picking up the home guard boots might surprise you, but honestly, his engages in this game will be much similar to Hecarim's. Hecarim's done best when you have a flanking ward placed behind the enemy, and you just get Shyvana to use that Dragon Descent to position everyone into your team. That's what they're going to be looking for. So watch for the deep vision from both teams, especially around Dragon, which is going to be the major objective for the next 12, 13 minutes of the game. Wards around there will be priceless.
And Kakao actually does go in, but B's going to get knocked back into the team. It's challenged there as well by Zatai. Dragon's Ascent moving back as he flashes in, and Flandre now going to come in. Azir, doing good damage as Ella has also ridden in as well. Flandre not quite pulling the trigger on the ulti. Does finally go in, gets onto Rookie. They fear him back. Beast pops his ulti, and it's still an absolutely massive fight. Good ult though, moves Zatai maybe a bit too far away. Flandre will go down as Cassiopeia's damage in the situation far too high, and Rookie, good mana pull, keeps chasing but cannot get anyone else.
Super awkward fight. No consistent damage because both AD carries weren't there. The only consistent damage, though, honestly, was Rookie on the Cassiopeia. They pick up the 1 kill, but honestly a misfire on both sides just because the positioning method, there was just so low damage between those two.
I mean, Buck and no slouch on the Azir, maybe wants a couple more items, but just couldn't get into position. And when you're fighting into a Cassiopeia, that's exactly what she wants from you.
And that's the thing. Azir's not immovable, but he needs to set up a locus control, put down some soldiers, and force you to respect and dive. But with no AD carries to dive, people were just disengaging defensively from the Sand Soldier. Snake, though, they pick up the objective. Taking out the outer turret should help getting those flanking wards we've spent so much time discussing.
That's the first turret of the game, interestingly enough. So a little bit slow as far as turrets being taken down. No Jinx fast push coming through just yet, but Infinity Edge completed for Kid. A Zeal actually done for Crystal here, so the Hurricane may be being abandoned for now.
He looks on the enemy team here, does Crystal, and realizes he needs a way to kill Zatai and Kakao. Those are the people who are going to be getting in his face. You go for that Renset build. Okay, you get the dream-like 4-man Fate's Call, and you just mow people down. But in a more reliable sense, probably a static Shiv or maybe the Phantom Dancer is the right way to go. Shiv gives you a bit of AoE options. Phantom Dancer really helps you in killing Zatai. We haven't seen this much from Crystal at all. Let's be real. He's been going for the Hurricane consistently in at least 90-95% of his Kalista games. Honestly, he plays so much Kalista that makes sense. But in this situation, it's going a bit more single target.
And for me, this just screams the Snake tactic that we've seen a lot in the regular season. They're just pushing for late game as hard as they can.
And there's no worries about that. Hecarim's piling on the CS. Hecarim will be able to get more reliable damage. Zatai is caught, but he's also a Dragon.
Yeah, caught there. Just uses his ulti and gets himself out of trouble as Bucker will clear a ward. But Dragon back up in a minute 30 now. And again, IG, now that the third is approaching, Snake do really have to start worrying about the objective snowball.
Zatai definitely needs to build up the Rage for that Dragon's Descent to be available. Doesn't have it right now. Slowly will build it up. Probably will have it. Honestly, the cooldown feels like about 60 to 70 seconds if you're doing damage to a minion wave. Jinx gets free time, and bye goes
That was really sick, actually. Kid zoned him out of the choke there with Flame Chombers, and then Crystal was like, I can't get in here now. And couldn't do anything as Kakao moves in onto Ella. Crystal, though, going to hop away. Beast comes in as well as Kitties gets hooked away. Death Charge will get used. Jana looking to fall down here. The Fate's Call not used quite yet. Actually, they can re-engage with it if they want. Crystal runs into a Trumper, though. Beast trying to chase him, but he is very slowed by the cast because he'll keep running in. Maybe find the snowball, but Kakao pretty sticky at this stage on the Gragas.
And look, IG were trying to be really savvy and prep for the Dragon a minute out. They were just hoping to get a pick, then be able to get ward supremacy and ensure, nail on that third Dragon. But in this situation, Zatai is going to push top. They're not going to have ward advantage. Will they still opt to fight? Because Kitties, he's very quick on the Jana. He's trying to power back and ensure that they open up the chance of picking up the third Dragon. One thing's for sure, they're going to trade turrets.
Well, they get the turret, and Recall's actually coming through for Snake, so not looking for that Dragon, it seems like. Flandre used his teleport down to the bottom side, I believe. So
Crystal has so much gold, 2,000 gold.
Yeah, it goes to spend some, got a Phantom Dancer now, but 2-0-0, the late game Kalista is real.
And this is the sort of situation where you need to actually look at this item build from Crystal, because you can be forgiven for thinking, IG, all right, it's about time for him to have that Hurricane, but no, he's looking to kill the front line. So you need to really ensure that your engagers respect the fact that his single target damage is much higher than expected.
And Snake are going to look to contest it. Nunu going to try and find his way, and Rookie actually gets grabbed up there, and Kakao going to try and disengage him away. Cast not quite landing. Ella taking too much damage. Fate's Call moves into Flandre, dives in onto Kid Zatai, trying to go into the backside, but Beast zones everybody out with an absolute zero. Good ult from Kid, though, going to start the first reset, and Crystal can't do enough damage. Kakao comes back in, body slam for the knock up onto Flandre. Crystal kiting as hard as he can, but it's 2-0 already. Kakao might actually go down, but he's so tanky on the Gragas. Gets a knock-up, Kid gets a third kill, and Crystal against the world in a 1v5 with almost the rest of his team dead will get slowed by a Zephyr, knocked up by Tornado, and give Kid a double and IG 4 kills.
Yeah, 4 kills, Nunu alive, but probably no hope in hell of stealing away the Dragon. That's a big team fight win for IG. The big question mark from this draft, would it be Kakal's 5-0 Gragas? Would it be the 10-2 Nunu coming through that would really get them that objective snowball to open up the main win condition for both teams? And Kakal showing why so many teams, including Edward Gaming, have really respected this Gragas pick, 5-0, and just really making it work. 1-1-5, but 6 out of 7 kill participation, and they've got that Dragon on lockdown.
Yeah, 3-0 now on the Dragon for IG, and converted that into 3 turrets as well, but we're going to see a replay of that fight.
So remember, Rookie and Kid want to fight this fight together just to make the enemy team respect the Petrifying Gaze. It's not used at this point, it's held on to wait for the Petrifying Gaze to be used, but Kid and Rookie fighting together. They get the first reset in this situation. Petrifying Gaze already been used, and they just keep diving. And Crystal, with that single target build, honestly, he's finding targets to auto. He does 1 auto onto Kitties, 2 onto Kakao, and realizes, okay, I'm not going to be killing Kakao. This is not the impact of Kalista we expect from 2 items. And honestly, the big worry for Snake is they need to fight for Dragons. They need to fight right now. The most immediate power you can get for Kalista, the lowest spike, is Hurricane into the Bloodthirster. They don't have that, and now the fact that they need to fight for Dragons is at odds with the build Crystal has.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at that last fight and think, you know what? Hurricane actually would have been really good there.
And look, if you had the Dragon on lockdown, go for the single target build and be a single target focus in the late game with the objectives to really justify it. But when you're fighting for objectives, you need as much power as possible.
Man,
it's the reason why Rumble's so good. He can build 2 magic penetration items and then fight for objectives. With this build, Kalista just gets zoned out of the fight.
Well, Snake now very much committed to the late game at this stage, but IG with the 5th Dragon rolling in now in 12 minutes time or so. That's not very far away, just under 35 minutes or so. Invictus Gaming with a 4,000 gold in and looking to continue their objective snowball. Last Whisper done there for Kid. Hasn't even finished his static shiv yet. That's how confident he feels right now. Rookie's got his distortion upgrade and the Seraph's Embrace completed as well. Maybe even working for a Rylai's now with that Giant Spell in his inventory. And Flandre, sure, he's fighting the tide just fine here, but he needs more CS than this point. He doesn't even have damage items yet. He's full tank after Cinderhulk.
That's another big issue is he doesn't have the burst. He's looking to stick around. So, okay, let's think of a different scenario. You look down this lineup. Kalista actually has the Hurricane. Flandre's job isn't as much burst, it's just soaking up damage while Kalista gets the Ren sets going. But now with a single target build, he needs to be a damage threat because it feels like Kalista can't be that damage threat. So I feel like the build's definitely not in harmony here between Flandre and Crystal. In the late game, absolutely they might work out, but the late game, we're talking about 4 or 5 Dragons piling onto IG. That's the big concern for me. And Kid, I think, has been savvy to go for the Last Whisper second. Already has the static shift now, so it's a moot point. But honestly, it's about that first kill, getting the reset on the Get Excited, because the Emperor's Divide is going to come eventually.
Oh, Kakao.
Gets the blue buff. But to get past the Emperor's Divide, to get past the disengage, what better way than getting excited on Jinx?
Yeah, and you saw actually Ella dying there to the rocket actually caused some of the problems there in that last team fight. So IG now complete control of the map, it looks like, in Snake's wards. They've been pushed very far back into their own jungle. To be fair, they are warding well, both defensively and with some neutral wards toward the Baron as well. But Beast hasn't even finished his Aegis yet, and this is the man that on Nunu loves to get his team snowballing, both literally and figuratively.
Just the big issue is that Nunu's been basically a footnote in this game. Nunu's best job is at pushing turrets and taking down dragons, and honestly hasn't really been proficient in doing either. They're doing fine, they're competitive in turrets 2 to 3, but the dragon especially. And it was all undone by the savvy taking of dragon and swapping it for the enemy blue buff. They had an exact timer on blue, knew they were on that side of the map, took down the first dragon, and it's looked great from there for Invictus Gaming.
Yeah, Rookie's even started a bit of split push as he shoves the wave down bottom towards that turret as well. Mikhail's completed for Kitties. Going to mean Kid on the immobile Jinx even safer with their 3 big carry items. Warmog's done now for Zatai. He's got 4,000 health already, plus a Randuin's as well. And Crystal going to try and kill him, but good luck.
Yeah, it's depressing, to be honest. It could have been either item. It could have been the Hurricane or the Phantom Dancer, and the result would be the same. Maybe the Last Whisper will give us more information to really start to respect or gain more of an opinion on this single target damage. Bloodthirster, of course, is no IE when it comes to modifying with crit. Needs the Last Whisper to try to tickle the Randuin's Warmog Cinderhulk. How much synergy is there between those 3 items for Zatai?
A lot, and you can tell just by the massive health pool that he's feeling very comfortable now on the big tank Shyvana. We can see Baka might be moving in for a Luden Zeko. That'd be quite curious. Seen a lot of mid laners in the LPL seem to favor that item, but Rookie rotating from lane to lane, trying to get to level 6, and IG, everything calm before that dragon back up in about a minute 15.
You can just see the confidence of IG at dealing with the likes of Crystal. Cal's just gone full magic resist. He's not respecting the physical damage at all. If it was the Hurricane build, you would have thought that at least a Warden's Mail would have come through at this point. But it's happy to just pick up the lock. It's got the Ninja Tabby now, and honestly, that's probably going to do enough work given his health pool.
It is indeed. I mean, Flandre now with his Frozen Hearts looking good. Last Whisper will be coming through for Crystal, so Zatai, who's pretty much going to try and dive Kalista at every single fight, will have a bit more of a chance in that situation. Crystal actually trying to pick up a bit of AoE farm here, and just again take some more turrets, give his team a little bit more gold, but Zatai will push this out very quickly, and Crystal probably has to give this up.
Honestly, Crystal is desperately trying to find another 300 gold in the next 40 seconds to take Dragon. He needs gold desperately, needs a Last Whisper to be relevant in this 4th Dragon fight.
Needs that turret, but Baka's already dead there in the mid lane as Kid gets a reset.
Here comes
there.
Jinx.
Yeah, he's going to come through. Jinx just taking out this turret, and no Nunu required here for this one. Janna just enough, especially with 3 damage items.
Feels like Snake, honestly. They fell down quite easily in that semi-final. So far, this has been all IG this game. Snake, Flandre looking for a desperate engage, but there's 4 members of IG.
Yeah, Crystal trying to come back, and Ella's getting harassed out of the top side by Zatai, who still has his teleport. Cacao face taking the turret. Kid is going to take it away here. Turret's going to go down. Chompers do land. Flandre in trouble, gets knocked back and taken out. Can't even ulti out to safety. Ella now getting dove there by Zatai, and the inhibitor will fall down. Rookie flashing in for an ultimate. Finds himself onto Crystal, who jukes the Q, but can't juke the Twin Fangs. Cassio with a double, and IG have broken the base.
That's only 2 damage items coming through from Rookie there. Gone for the very early Leandri. Shades of Godv coming through with the early preference on Leandri. Doesn't even have the Rylai's to get the consistent proc, but from that Giant's Belt, can't be too far away.
You can see, again, a lot of scaling here for Snake. The Luden Zeko is here for a bit more wave clear. Last Whisper finally done for Kalista, and Flandre full tank at this stage of the game, trusting in his 2 carries like he has all season long. But IG, they're so far ahead at this stage of the game. The Baron falls down as well, and that gold lead's jumped up to about 8k.
And given the comps we discussed, unfortunately, these items are completely irrelevant for Snake. They can't force anything. Their comp was never about forcing fights. Their engage options, okay, Flandre can get the Miracle Ultimate and they can somehow wombo down Kid. Wow, that was actually pretty damn close from Kid with the speculative use of the Super Mega Death Rocket. Zatai's coming around. He's used his teleport, but Emperor's Divide at some point.
Yep, he's been denied there, unfortunately. Can't drag his descent over that wall, so we'll just have to stick with maybe rotating down to the bottom side instead, as Crystal will take that towards the tie-in way, but finds a Sentinel, and we'll just continue applying pressure to the bottom half.
So we'll take a red buff in this situation. IG just have all the advantages piled up. Okay, the 5th Dragon is a little bit further away, but honestly doesn't look like a necessary win condition. The tutorial victory is looking to start happening here, and all Hecarim can do here, all Flandre can do is try and get that first outer turret top and swap it for an inner turret in the bottom.
Well, the swap is indeed going to happen, maybe, as Zatai is actually going to rescue it here. Tower goes down in the bottom side, though. Kid on the Jinx with an extra BF sword especially is ripping through turrets at this stage, and Cacao just single-handedly zoning everybody off. Even if they wanted to dive, he could just Grag Assault them away.
So this is Snake's last opportunity. They have teleport on Flandre. He's just porting back, looking for the home guards. Honestly, has to respect his turret being pushed down. You thought maybe the world's best Hecarim flank teleport coming through would try and push IG away, but they're almost 10,000 gold away. They have excellent disengage. It's so hard to force things against Janna, Gragas, Cassiopeia.
I mean, it's such a weird-looking game for Snake. They didn't... I mean, we identified the potential issue with both of the team comp. You start falling behind in objectives, and all of a sudden, you run out of good options in the mid-game to try and give yourself a lead. Snake are a team that constantly team fight, even when behind, because they're so good at execution that they trust that maybe with a disadvantage, they can pull something out and keep the game going. They haven't even fancied a fight at this stage, and I guess with the comp that's presented to them, I can't really blame them.
But you look down IG's lineup, or you just think about this game, it's been 3 losing lanes and a Nunu jungle. What are they going to force? They're losing every lane. Bottom lane looked like a potential win for them, but we marked at level 3 that was impressive that Kid had got the level advantage and pushed in the Kalista. Kept overextended, and Beast couldn't get any work done. It's not the Jarvan that he was defaulting to at the start of the season. Honestly, the Jarvan, even on this patch, might have been a little bit better in terms of, it would have been better in terms of forcing, maybe not necessarily fitting the comp. They're going to go for the engage, but I don't know how much work's going to get done.
Flandre gets both carries there, but there's no follow-up available. Pretty tanky on the horse, but damage coming in, gets stunned into the wall. Jinx doing good work, but Kid gets grabbed away. Janna, though, will move in for the reset with the ulti, and nobody dead, but key cooldowns used by both sides.
Exactly, but that's the big engage cooldown down now. Maybe you can look for the teleport to Mega Death Rocket.
Trying, but does not hit. Flandre gets back to safety, but Zatai, meanwhile on the bottom side, is just happily pushing the turret.
Is he interested in Flandre's damage? It's got no Trinity Force there, so no.
No, I mean, the turret actually doing a lot of work, forces him back, but Kid will get the turret in the bottom side now. Going to work on this second inhibitor as a possible third could come through as well. It doesn't quite fall down. Bucker actually keeping them at bay on the Azir for now, but IG constricting Snake to their base at this stage. They have complete control of the Rift.
And that's the issue when it comes to engage, which is what Snake desperately need to do, watching their inhibitors and inhibitor turrets fall down. They've got one option. They've got the ultimate or maybe the teleport home guard coming through from Flandre. That was burnt, so no need to respect anything coming through from Snake. They had to, they had to use the Monsoon and Gragas, you'd have to say the explosive cask, but they'll have those cooldowns available again. And the question will be, when will this game end for Snake? Because I just can't see them getting back into it.
Well, they're trying here. Flandre with a fade. Finally going to build in towards his Trinity Force, but it might be too little too late here on the build. Crystal with a BF sword going to work in for it. You have to think the Infinity Edge. Yeah, Rylo's completed there for Cassio. 4 items done there for Kid. I mean, the gold lead already at 10,000 up for IG. Snake's items, okay, they look fine, but IG have already completed their extras.
So we're moving into a pause. I was actually noting it looked like Cassio was going to take this bottom lane farm. Actually a better choice than Shyvana. If Shyvana has teleport up, send her top. Because the one thing you can say, Hecarim can't split push against the Cassio just because she has to respect the slows and the consistent damage coming through. It's got the Leandri's Torment, got the Rylai's. No flash means that you'd have to use the Onslaught of Shadows defensively to get away when he's overextended against a Rylai with a Cassio with Rylai's. And that situation, it blows their only engage option. So 1-3-1 is the potential here. I guess they can just look for the 5-man group. We're waiting for objectives that are easier for them to fight over, like the Dragon and Baron, which are a couple of minutes away. I'm just talking about all the things IG can do. Snake, they're just looking for a mistake, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Flandre hit an ulti onto 2 people, but he, isn't strong enough by himself to take somebody out of the fight like the Jinx, for example.
Who's diving with him?
Exactly, that's the other issue. I mean, no one actually in this comp, even if they were tanky enough, they're all about setting up for a flank and getting some kills and then kiting back with their disengage to try and get kills. But that's the enemy team's plan as well, and unfortunately IG got ahead in objective despite the Nunu there for Beast over on Snake's side. And again, we kind of mentioned it, the team that got ahead in objectives was probably going to run away with the game, and at this stage, about 32.5 minutes in, that's exactly what's happened.
It's exciting to me to see IG morphing into this. I mean, morph is the right word, just basically looking at an enemy team's identity and doing their game plan better. That's a crazy thing to think, but that's what IG have become.
Yeah, as the tie down the bottom, that's 5,000 health already, I believe, on the Shyvana. So lots of health buzz there coming through with now a Spirit Visage completed in there as well, working on a 5th armor item, it seems like. Possibly a Thornmail just to make Crystal's life even worse than it might already be.
Doing his best Mundo impression with lots of AoE damage, but a lot like Burning Agony and a million health coming through.
Yeah, actually a million coming in there as Crystal will clear out what waves he can here with that Hurricane. It's a little trickier, but he's still a fairly good offensive wave clearer on the Kalista. Kid now actually split pushing on the top side, but does give it up. And Snake, they're trying to force a fight, but Zatai, he's in the bottom, just causing trouble.
It's a bit depressing when you see Jinx hopelessly split from a team and no real engage options onto the 3-man mid unit. Have to respect Janna, Kragas, Cassio with disengage aplenty between the 3 of them. Jinx will keep pushing in. They'll have all their minion waves pushed in, and honestly, something has to give for Snake.
Yeah, IG just running Snake around the map at this point. They do have their inhibitors back up, so haven't lost one yet, but Kakao diving in perhaps a bit too aggressive, but fairly tanky right now on the Gragas as Zatai, even tankier there as well.
Absolutely. They're getting cute, but they can afford to with their big health bars, waiting for any sort of potential engage to come through from Snake. But I mean, you just have to feel they're going to get the minion waves in the positions they want and then force down this base.
I mean, Snake will try and settle as long as they can. They're quite good at dragging games out, but this will be a tough spot to do it from here. If they can find a good pick, again, if IG make a mistake, it's not too bad, but IG at this point not looking to make any crucial mistakes closing out the game.
And look, it's just so finicky to try to engage with Kakao or even Zatai in this situation. There's no flank wards to go for. Split pushing till that Baron or the 4th Dragon is available is the best option. They finally caused enough members to react. They take the turn, but Kid gets hooked.
Yeah, they actually do get Kid there by Ella. Depth charge onto Rookie, going to try and knock both the carries up, but no further follow-up here. Gragas and Janna have the ultis, and even the Flame Chompers causing problems as Zatai happily down the bottom doing his own thing.
But look, even if they don't have the tools, what's the point of just using an engage or then backing away? You're getting split pushed by Zatai. You already lost an objective in top, even throwing up the Azir turret for a bit more defense. But you know at some point, IG will just kite back to either Baron or Dragon.
Zatai again, still working on the inhib. This middle inhib, though, getting low, does fall down to Kid. Ella looking for an engage as Bucky gets chunked out. Rookie wants it so bad, but not going to quite dive in. Flandre moving through. Beast taking a snowball in. Everybody getting knocked back, but Flandre now separated for his team. But Crystal coming in, gets the first kill onto Kid. Flandre still chasing out Kid. He says they need to kill Rookie as well. Crystal coming back into Ty, gets pushed out by Baka. Crystal trying to do the damage. Beast channels his ulti to Ty, getting low there. Might actually die. Does get rendered and taken out. Crystal now the next target, but Rookie doing so much damage. Gets snared up by the Nautilus, but does get the trade. Kakao will get chased in. It's a 5-for-2 in the end, and Snake somehow defends.
Snake finally caught onto Kid. It was poor positioning coming through from Kid. He died first, and so did IG's hopes of winning that fight, even though Rookie was putting out a lot of consistent damage. You see pings coming onto Baron. It spawns in a couple of seconds, but with no Kalista, it's going to be a slow Baron.
Yeah, no Nunu either. It's a little risky here, but Ella and Barker might just have a mission in mind here. It is back up. They are going to run towards it. Yep, they are going to start it away. This will be quite the three-man Baron.
They have Hecarim, which is decent, consistent damage, but of course it's just Phage and a Sheen. They have one smite available. It's coming down fast. We don't necessarily respect all the damage coming through from Barker. They'll keep pushing it down. They should take this objective, though. The Super Mega Death are good.
No, Rocket coming through. Not going to kill Ella, thankfully, as he shields himself back up. And Flandre didn't even have his smite to use, actually, and Azir will take it down.
So that's still a massive win if you pile it all together. Of course, the Baron buff minions will repel the 1-3-1 split we saw coming through from IG. IG pushed towards another win condition, though, with their 5th dragon. They can't look forward. They can't afford to be a bit so lax with their positioning, you'd have to say. This far too overextended with Kid. Should always be next to Rookie with a couple of tanks in front of him. Even the explosive Cask and Janna wasn't enough disengage to stop the pick coming on to Kid. Maybe we've pronounced the death of Snake too soon. They've got finally something to show for 36 minutes of just watching IG pile on advantages.
I mean, we mentioned they wanted to go to late game and they were wonderfully good at team fighting. Starting to prove it now, perhaps a little late into the game. The gold lead's still there for Invictus Gaming, about 6,000 or 7,000 ahead, but IG are running out of good options. Both big objectives off the map there, with Baron going to Snake and IG getting their 4th dragon. But like you said, Papa, that big 5th dragon win condition is just around the corner.
And I guess at least at minimum, Page Time, we'll have a case study on 4 items, single target focus, no Hurricane Kalista. Has the 4 prototypical AD carry items that all the non-Triforce users strive to pick up. Can he actually start on this Kalista killing the front lines? Zatai and Kakao are hopelessly tanky, but it's just going to be interesting to watch the damage trades there.
Flandre now has his Trinity Force, so that actually might be the more significant thing, as Flandre, who went nice and slow on the build, going tanky with his Cinderhawk, now has all the options he needs. We mentioned again Snake pushing towards the late game. Death Cap done now for Baka. Nunu's even got an Aegis and starting to get tankier. I mean, realistically, he's very far behind, but Snake do have some tools now to try and fight. Is it too late, though? That's the big question.
I mean, it's worth noting also that Rookie and Kid, the 2 members that the Hecarim's going to be tending towards, don't have any defensive options. There's the Spectre's Cowl, but certainly no QSS or Banshees completed. Rookie has no defensive abilities at all coming through. They have good peel, but the Wombo engage, the Terrify dying during that CC is a possibility if remote.
Yeah, we'll have to see Crystal start to position a bit more aggressively. Flandre happy to fight Zatai now, quite strong on the Hecarim, especially in a minion wave, but IG trying to split up Snake once again. But last time this happened, Kid got himself picked off, and Ella's been on point with the dredge lines.
Might be important, but Kid does have flash available. No heal. Probably going to have to flash at some point with all the initiation tools coming through from Snake. But things are a lot more tense than they were 5 minutes ago after that big team fight win for Snake.
It's kind of a fun thing to note as well, but Kid's safest spot is actually right in front of the dead turret there, because Nautilus can't hook through it.
That's actually a very relevant interaction in this case, although at that point, hooking onto the dead turret might actually put him in the Riptide, the depth charge range. So,
and Riptide range too, hopefully.
Riptide range maybe, so there's always a lot of things to think about.
Luden's Echo Azir is making this game go Anivia level lengths, though. Is there that counter pushing quite a number of super minions successfully here in IG, who really want this last inhibitor, has not been given up lightly by Snake.
Getting late enough that 6 item builds will be completed. Snake are finding a lot of CS in this situation, but honestly pushing against Baron buff minions is always going to be difficult. Baron buff just expires, and now finally they can start to get a bit of turret damage.
Dredge line thrown out there. Almost got a pick. Turret going to be put up now as well by Barker, buying his team a little bit more time. I mean, it's actually pretty annoying. IG have to wait for their minion wave without Baron buff, and Crystal starting to hop around the other side, clearing out the minions in the mid lane.
And remember, they've got all the pressure on the map, though, so at some point they'll be able to disengage and move towards the 5th dragon. Unless Snake look for a fight, single target damage coming down to Cow, but certainly still very tanky.
Pretty good there on the Kalista, actually. You can see the build looking good in those sort of single target situations. Flandre, though, going to get poked out a bit. Now a little bit low. Kid did not use his ultimate. It was just a rocket as Flandre going to dive straight in onto the back, trying to get Rookie out of the way. The first kill might come through. Barker moves Kakao back in, and Crystal needs to find people to auto beat. taking up so many hits though, and Baka looking low as well. Crystal needs to do more work, but a double kill through there for Jinx. Kakao gonna make it 3. Flandre will fall as well, and it was a very strong last hurrah, but IG completely breaks Snake.
Yeah, credit to Snake. They noticed that Zatai would have to use teleport to come into the fight, so it was a 5v4 for those 3-second channels of the teleport, but it's not enough. Surrender actually comes through before they can finish the game. IG played really well. Credit to Snake. They showed that fighting spirit that they've shown all split long. But IG, they're one up and they're looking confident going into this series.
And I feel like we've said this so many times after Snake games, but if this team never fell behind in the early game, they'd be one of the world's best teams, because late game, big 5v5 fights, that's where they thrive.
And honestly, the surrender count is probably a relevant statistic. It feels like we've seen multiple games where Kalista gets rolling for Crystal and the surrender votes, the likes of Vici Gaming even surrendering at 20, 24 minutes into the game. But this Snake team, they never surrender, they never give up, especially in a situation like this where they realize the engage, it's not high for us, it's not high for them either. There was always that hope that the Wombo engage from the Hecarim could win them a fight.
There was, but a strong lead there from IG, and they pushed themselves over the edge at the very last second, but that's only one game out of 5. We have a best of 5 here tonight for the third place match, and when we return, we'll be back with Invictus Gaming versus Snake.